So we have wrapped up our 2 weeks on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
And so we continued on from there through Shenandoah National Park, Skyline Drive, on up through Philadelphia, and then to New York City.
Staying on the path that I've chosen, straight up, come my way, and I'll see you at the top. 'Cause something's gonna happen in this story, and I can feel it coming, like the rising of the sun. Straight
So as a quick recap, we are out in the van right now. We have left the boat back in Florida for hurricane season. And you can go catch up on our adventure so far exploring Georgia, and as well as our 2 amazing weeks along the Blue Ridge Parkway.
So after the Blue Ridge Parkway wraps up, the road ends and then starts up again with Shenandoah National Park and Skyline Drive. So it's basically
More of the same.
in a lot of ways more of the same, but now it's actually a national park. You have the entrance fee and all the typical national park stuff to get in, and then you're up on Skyline Drive, another twisty little road along the skyline, along the ridges through Virginia.
And this was actually completed before the Blue Ridge Parkway, and the Blue Ridge Parkway was really intended to
continue Skyline Drive.
Yeah, but the beauty and majesty of this highway is art. So it really is similar. The Blue Ridge Parkway just kind of continues on. So in total, you can do well over 500, 600 miles between the 2 drives just back to back.
Yeah, so definitely a beautiful way to avoid the lowlands, the heat, to traffic. Skyline Drive also was very low traffic. It was very beautiful to drive. For whatever reason, I guess it didn't have quite the same landscape architecture majesty of the Blue Ridge, or maybe we were just getting tired of twisty mountain roads, but I thought the Blue Ridge was prettier.
I think so too, and a lot of the overlooks on the southern side of the Skyline Drive just don't have that big panoramic view. I think a lot of them have grown over since they were originally built and imagined. And the roads are only 35 miles per hour instead of 45, but that doesn't really make...
That's the speed we prefer anyway, so... Yeah.
That wasn't really much of a difference. You don't typically get to get up to 45 on these roads anyway. There are 4 campgrounds along the Skyline Drive, and originally thought we would try to do all 4 of them, but those plans didn't really come together.
Yeah, just like we had done all the campgrounds in...
Except for one.
Almost all the campgrounds in the Blue Ridge Parkway. We wanted to continue that trend, but realizing that we were starting to get a little tired of short stays, limited connectivity, and we're looking how short the hops were, that we weren't really making much progress towards our planned rendezvous up in New England. So we're like, well, okay, maybe we do want to go through Shenandoah just at a slightly quicker pace.
And we had done the whole thing before.
Yeah, and we have done it years and years ago.
So we went ahead and decided to go to Loft Mountain Campground, which is the first one on the southern side. This one has a lot of first come, first served sites, and we scored a great one.
Yeah.
They are huge pull-through sites, most of them. We got one that gave us a lot of privacy. We actually got decent connectivity there as well. I forget, was it T-Mobile that actually worked there?
I think that was one of the places where T-Mobile was the winner. I have to go check my notes.
It was awesome. Yeah. The Appalachian Trail goes through it, so you can actually hike around the campground along the Appalachian Trail. And there's laundry there. You can, for like $1 a load, you can do laundry.
Cheap, big, clean laundry. So definitely check out the laundry services there. And if you think, oh, you're up on top of this big mountain, it'd be great views. There's actually not a lot of scenic views from the campground unless you go to the amphitheater, or just walk down to the Appalachian Trail and walk the loop around the mountain, a short hike, and you'll find all these wonderful vistas in all different directions. So the campground itself has no views.
In retrospect, I kind of wish we did 2 nights of this one because it was a little more of a chill feeling campground. For the next one up, we decided on Big Meadow, which is the kind of big premier, more touristy campground in the Shenandoah.
I guess it's kind of the centerpiece of the thing. It's
there's a gas station there. There's a lodge. There's all sorts of activities,
things going on, and so you get there, and it is bustling and. It was maybe a bit too bustling. We had been used to everywhere along the Blue Ridge Parkway and also at the first campground that, you just go in, you get to pick a site that gives you the right vibes you want. And so we were kind of caught off guard when we pull into Big Meadow and the ranger assigns us a spot. And he's like, here you go. And I'm like, oh, we don't pick? And he's like, well, if you don't like it, come back.
But we had decided we were ready for a 2-night stop. We knew that Big Meadows had a good chance of connectivity. We needed to get caught up on some work. We just felt we needed
A 2-night stop.
2-night stop. When we get to it, the site that he gave us was actually pretty nice. It was one of the nicer ones in the campground, but the whole campground is full. And it has a lot of people with large groups on the site.
And lots of kids. I guess we're in the range of Washington, D.C. metro area, and a lot of people were just out for family camping. So after basically 2 weeks on the Blue Ridge of mostly empty campgrounds or very kind of quiet and secluded, being in the middle of bustle was a little jarring.
It was just a lot of sound, a
us.
lot of movement. It was just more than we were used to, and it just wasn't
We were
relaxing
spoiled.
for us. So we did go down to the lodge. We found some live music, a nice outdoor patio with a great view overlooking the mountains. Got a glass of wine there, and I think we had a gluten-free chocolate cake. It was really
and stuff.
nice. We
And
enjoyed our time there, but
we did a little bit of hiking up to like a little point trail and stuff, but even the hiking, you're like constantly up to the side of the trail because there's groups of people going up and down, up and down. It was almost like an escalator going up to the one little viewpoint.
So we actually, despite wanting 2 nights, it wasn't
We'd
2
already
nights.
paid for them. Yeah.
It was only $20 a night, not a big deal. But we left one night on the table there. We went ahead and checked out early.
Because, flexibility. So this lifestyle's all about flexibility. We're
Right.
not feeling the vibe.
Yeah,
Move.
it just was that much chaos and noise around. It's just not what we wanted. So we looked ahead and decided we wanted to make some miles ahead because we did have some rendezvous planned. And we looked at what we wanted was some nice biking because along the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Skyline, the biking opportunities, especially for nice, trails, aren't there.
No. I mean, yeah. So I'd done some research ahead, and I was like, oh, the C&O Canal. This is like epic bike riding. It's a trail that goes from Washington, D.C. To Cumberland, and then actually continues all the way to Pittsburgh. It is epic biking and apparently amazingly
all along the towpath of the canal.
Yeah, all like clay towpath, beautiful, flat, wonderful riding. So I was like, let's find a campground somewhere that will give us access to the C&O Canal, and I found Brunswick Campground is right there, easy access. It's actually literally right on the towpath. Let's call and.
Well, it was online. It was online reservations. I was able to find a site for 2 nights. No problem. So it was like $45-$50 a night, but oh well.
Yeah, so let's go to this one. Let's check it out. Let's get our bikes, get some miles on us.
And so we pull in, and it's like, this place feels familiar.
Pulled up the photo archives on my phone and went back and looked. We've actually stayed here before, back when we were on our
bus hunt
before we even bought our bus.
We had borrowed a friend's RV, the Lasharo, if you remember those adventures from the blog.
Way back.
And we had looked at a bus in the area and had selected this campground. And so we're pulling in. It's like, this is all very familiar. Now, the site that I had picked online, their online reservation system doesn't give you a lot of information on the specific site. The one we pulled into, it kind of backed into another site so that their patio was on our back windows, which just felt uncomfortable.
And they had a dog in a pen that was basically would have been right up against our back window.
And it was already getting agitated with us there, and we just imagined, well, once Kiki's out there, that's not going to be so much fun. So we went back up to the office, and there were at least a dozen sites open the night before when I booked it. And we just said, hey, is it possible for us to move sites? She says, oh no, we're full up. I think I have one site available.
And she's like, if you want this one site, you can take it. And so well, okay, it's better than being next to the, let's just go for it. And so we moved sites. It was a very unlevel site, but it was at least still alongside the river. But we're like, okay, there's all the sites all around us are still empty that are much more level. Felt like they should have been a little bit more accommodating, but whatever. Maybe they've got a big crowd coming in. Nobody ever showed up.
They remained open online. So
not
whatever.
Good customer service there.
I wasn't too impressed with the campground itself.
But the location is everything.
Yeah, so we went out every single day, probably twice a day, on those towpaths. It's just nice, easy
Biking
riding.
Heaven.
The gravel is just perfect. It doesn't make sounds when you go over it. It's not bumpy. It's just nice and flat.
And beautiful, just along the C&O Canal with the Potomac River on one side and the train tracks on the other. And then every few miles, there's either a viaduct or a lock or an old lock keeper's cabin. Because we're locking it.
We're locking it?
Or I don't know. We're canaling it, towpathing it. Best bike trails ever are towpaths.
Well, they're not flowy.
Well, okay, not flowy, but flat and, well, yeah, okay. Historic plaques explaining them all.
Lots of shade.
And all shady.
I like my shade. So just beautiful. So one afternoon we actually biked about 7 miles down the canal to Harpers Ferry over to West Virginia. So it's kind of cool to be looking at was it Virginia across the way? We were in Maryland and we biked to West Virginia.
Yeah, so we were right there. And Harpers Ferry's got so much history. Just, I mean, it's kind of like the precursor to the Civil War. All happened there. So we went over. It was a roasting hot day.
It was hot.
But we still went. Yeah, not like today. We still got a chance to go explore Harpers Ferry a little bit. That's also where the Appalachian Trail kind of crosses. It's the headquarters of the Appalachian Trail, so we got to check in there. Found a good place for lunch, walking around.
Nice outdoor patio.
Yeah. And just seeing, like, there's the where the train tracks and the canals and the river and the trail and it's like all this stuff and all this history comes together. The whole Harpers Ferry, the whole downtown, the whole lower part is run by the National Park Service. It's a neat place. I've never been there. It's really worth checking out.
Yeah, preserved town. It was really quaint to walk around. I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, biked back. It was just beautiful.
Biking heaven there.
Yeah. So and then next stop, we actually had one of our longer driving days so far on this trip is all the way over to Philadelphia.
Yes.
And that's where we did some urban street camping. The van is perfect for this sort of stuff. And we thought, great, our power's going to be independent. We can just stay 2 nights in front of our friend's house.
But the heat index is, I think,
gosh.
108. So our friend who lives in the row house in northeast Philadelphia and the Tacony area is like, don't worry, I can get an extension cord out to you so you can at least not roast.
Well, we don't have to be running the engine to recharge
Yes.
the batteries to keep the AC going the whole time, especially for the cat. And of course, we're staying in the van. So yeah, it was great to street camp. I loved. It's kind of fun to do that when you're in a place that allows it, and is it not a problem with the neighbors, and you feel welcomed.
Yes.
That's our thing. We don't like stealth camping, but I just enjoyed catching up. This is probably one of my longest and dearest friendships. First nomad I ever met, like
She was
20
a
years ago.
sailing nomad.
She was a sailing nomad, and we met down in Florida, and then she ended up settling up in Philadelphia and pursuing her art career. So that was amazing to catch up with Barb. And then it was onward. So we're going to pick up the story later. I'm going to try to keep these videos shorter and easier to edit so we can get them out. They're proving a challenge to produce these videos, film the footage, and get these pieces done. We're actually filming this like 3 weeks after these are things we're talking about.
We're trying to catch up. But,
oh my gosh.
next up is Philadelphia to New York City is a quick, easy hop, and we went to camp and RV in
Downtown
New York City. Well, Jersey City, technically, but we'll share all about that and
then,
our city adventure next.
And then moving on into New England. We are currently in New Hampshire, up in the White Mountains, about to go see some friends in the area here before we start heading westward back to St. Louis to visit your parents here in a few weeks. So we will see you down the road. We'll keep updating as we can on these travels and adventures and sharing what we're seeing out here.
Yay!
We create these videos just for fun, and we love having you along for the ride. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, or if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.